People who work in the airline industry, what are some of the craziest things you have seen? Flight diverted to my airport because a girl in hot pants got uncontrollable diarrhea from the laxatives she took before the flight to help with her weekend drug binge. She shit in her seat and down the island all over the bathroom. 5 other passengers had uncontrollable vomiting because of this, and the panic on the plane from the crew and rest of passengers caused the plane to make an emergency landing. They ended up having to cancel the remaining leg of the flight to decontaminate the plane. Story experienced and told by one of the cabin crew girl who is a neighbor of one of my friends. On her flight, a woman was holding a newborn baby wrapped in a cloth. She was kinda crying and behaving not normal. Some authorities paid attention to this, and on checking in with her, she revealed that the baby was a dead body filled with drugs and was killed 3 days ago. Her rest of the family was being kept hostage and were to be released only if she delivers the drug buddy. I worked part-time loading bags when I felt one vibrating. I followed protocol and notified my supervisor. He pulled the bag and had it x-rayed while the plane was held in place. I'm sure you can see where I'm going with this. A bunch of people missed their connecting flights because a dildo was accidentally turned on. Next few times it happened, I loaded it right alongside the others. I figured that if it was a bomb that was vibrating, we were all dead already. Walked into the flight deck and the pilots were showing each other the various nicks, cuts and scratches they've gotten from banging into stuff while trying to get into their chairs. Pilot turns to first officer and says, "Yeah, this thing is a real death trap. Didn't realize I was there to let them know we had commenced boarding and passengers were walking directly behind me down the aisle." Thankfully I don't think anyone overheard his comment. I don't work in the airline industry, but I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night. Anyway, my idiot aunt smuggled a monkey into the US from Mexico. Her plan was to keep it under her shirt until she got through customs. She is a big woman and it was a small monkey. Anyway, the monkey started running around the cabin, and crew and some passengers were trying to catch it. The monkey was a bit of a biter, so it was a huge stupid shit show. Okay, I don't work in the airline industry, but I flew an Alaska flight last month, and after half an hour on the tarmac, the captain gets on the intercom and says, "Hey, between me and the first officer next to me, we don't have enough hours to fly this model of plane. We're gonna have to wait and call another pilot." What the actual FK? How do you schedule people that can't fly the plane? I mean, that is their one and only job. Not me, but my friend is a commercial pilot and he was flying from Dublin to NYC, said halfway through the flight the engine fire light came on and they were in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Panic stations ensued, but turned out it was a guy smoking a cigarette in the toilet and it triggered the engine fire light. Mentioned the guy got in pretty serious trouble over it. I saw a person get eradicated by the blade of a helicopter. I saw someone almost lose their leg to an exploding tire. I saw a guy lose his finger to a jet rolling over it. I saw a guy have his leg squeezed like a tube of toothpaste because he fell in front of a tire. Then they had to roll it the opposite way back over him. They saved his leg, and he still walks. We had a small commissary buggy to stock up planes when they'd land, tiny little car that went 30 miles per hour. Bag of toilet paper fell off the passenger seat and landed on the gas pedal with nobody in it. It did circles for 5 minutes before it hit a wall, almost took out several planes. Driver got suspended for only a week. She was our union steward. Not in the industry, but boarded a Northwest flight many years ago. A lady in the emergency exit row a couple of rows behind me called the FA back and said I can stick my arm out of the plane. I look out my window and sure enough, she's waving back at me. Takeoff was delayed while they called maintenance to reseal the exit window. Someone had the tip of their finger cut off when closing the door to the plane and didn't say anything until the flight landed at the arrival gate, and when the door was open the chunk of finger fell out. The staff then said, "Oh yeah, that's my finger. You can throw it away." Captain a bit of a rager. Agent is new or something and can't connect the jet bridge to the plane. Pax super mad. No one answering on ops. Captain eventually jumps from the open boarding door into the JB and proceeds to scream at the jet bridge driver. He calmed down eventually. It was a show, Airline on AE, that was both entertaining and informative. Lest you all think bad passenger behavior is a relatively new phenomenon, this series will show you that bad passengers have always existed. Coffin with dead body inside being left out of the flight due to overload without notice neither to us nor the family, and the family realizing it by seeing it while the plane was leaving and screaming to us. My dad was a reservation agent for Piedmont, then US Airways. A man called in one day because he had sneezed while in the lavatory, and lost his dentures down the toilet. He wanted them back. Once I saw a few pilots and flight attendants from one company, and a few pilots and flight attendants from a different company, and they were all friendly to one another. Crazy. Saw the pilot walk into the passenger area and say, "I'm not flying this piece of shit," and get off the plane, and all the passengers followed him. I don't even work in the airline industry, but I watched 9/11 happen on TV. I'd say that's probably the craziest thing most people on here have seen. Pulled flight control computers and smacked them on the ground to reset cars, then reinstalled and told the pilot he was good to fly. I saw someone go around some safety cones and take a shortcut with his tug, and he wound up axle deep in fresh cement. A fully naked woman just walked through the terminal and tried to walk through security like she wasn't fully naked. Worked in operations at IAH for a while. One of our pilots landed with passengers at the wrong airport. I once loaded a cargo hold of a private A320 to the brim with bottled water. There were 2 suitcases checked in that were full of nothing but weed. An A380 pulling into a closed bay while we had the air bridge in pieces. A plane I got on once almost left without half of its aircrew on it.